heard you. I heard you. Most of Boston heard you by now, Mabel. I know. I have always disapproved of his choices in the past. You told me 1,000 times. Come to think of it, Mabel, perhaps you should have interfered a few times before your Stephen got married. How's he doing, by the way, with his third or fourth? I can't keep up with it. What? He's getting divorced again? What's the matter with your son? Nobody's good enough for him? Sure. You told me that the last time. I just don't buy it. Your son, the famous brain surgeon, needs to have his head examined. All right, forget it. But your Stephen's future is just as important to me as my own son's. Which reminds me, they'll be here any minute. I hope this one's better than the last one. Don't you remember? Veronica, the mortician. That girl gave me the creeps. Every time she touched the food, I wondered where her hands had been before. All right. I heard you. I'll behave myself. I don't care what she looks like, what she does for a living, where she comes from. She can have two heads for all I care. I will not interfere. Never again, I promise.
Hey, Mom!
Hi, darling. They're here.
Hope we're not too early.
Gotta go, Mabel.
The girls gave me a ride.
Yes, of course. I'll call you later. Bye. Hello. Welcome.
Mom, this is Bipsy and her sister Mary Elizabeth.
May I use your powder room for a moment, Mrs. Gordon?
Of course, dear. The powder room is the second door on the left. There are clean towels on the shelf, dear.
Oh, Mom, I can hardly wait for you and Bipsy to get to know each other.
But what about...
Her sister Mary Elizabeth? Ugh, I'm sorry, Mom. She can be so difficult sometimes. She's just so different from Bipsy. Mom, what I'm trying to tell you is, I'm the happiest man on earth. I'm in love. This is it. I found the nicest girl in the world. She's just wondering, don't worry about her, Mom. I'm not marrying Mary Elizabeth. I'm marrying the girl of my dreams. Bipsy.
Mrs. Gordon, it's such a pleasure to meet you. David's told us so much about you.
I wish he had told me a little about you.
Oh, darling, you can call my mom Irma. Can't she, Mom?
Of course, dear. Dears. So, how did the two of you, the three of you, how did you meet?
Oh, in a nightclub, Mom. Bipsy is a professional belly dancer. You should see her. She's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And you always did tell me to look for an athletic girl. Do you remember?
Oh, yes, of course. This is exactly what I had in mind. A belly dancer. You are a belly dancer.
Oh, Bipsy is the belly dancer, Mrs. Gordon. I am a psychoanalyst.
A psychoanalyst. A psychoanalyst and a belly dancer. How do you do it?
Oh, very simply. A good psychoanalyst can always put herself into the mind and body of another person, even when that person is not her patient.
You mean you never analyzed?
Oh, I can't see more patients, Mrs. Gordon. I have a very tight schedule as it is. I've mentioned it several times to my secretary, but we simply can't fit her in.
Yes, I can see that. Well, let's you and I have a drink.
Oh, just coffee for me, please.
Here we are. I made your favorite tarts, David.
Oh, Mom, next time we have to have your famous chicken soup. That's Bipsy's favorite. Oh, she also loves to cook. Her specialty is lobster thermidor. Isn't it, my little Mickey Mucky? My sweetest cookie nookie?
So you love to cook.
Oh, I can't cook, Mrs. Gordon. I never bothered to learn. I actually prefer to eat out. I mean, let's face it, I can afford it. I eat in all the finest restaurants. Excuse me, would you mind not drinking quite so much, please? I don't want to get heartburn again. I'm sorry. I actually, I have to be up very early tomorrow morning. I am the keynote speaker at the annual meeting of, thank you, the Massachusetts Psychoanalytical Society. As I am also on the board, it's extremely important that I be up early. I'm sorry, excuse me.
Oh, Mom, we want to talk tonight about the wedding.
Wedding?
Yes, Bipsy and I have been discussing it for weeks. Trying to hear what you think.
Well, that reminds me, darling. Have you heard lately from Veronica? You remember Veronica, she was such a nice girl.
Mom, we decided to have a really big wedding.
Oh, I bet just the media would fill up the church.
Bipsy and I want all our families there and all our friends. We want you all to witness our happiness.
But, darling, isn't this a little hasty? I mean, the two of you, well, you just met recently, not so long ago. What's the rush?
What's the rush? What? Don't you want to have grandchildren? That's all I ever heard from you. I want to be a grandmother, David. It's time to spoil my grandchildren, David.
With such a promising career in belly dancing, will she, Bitsy, Bootsy, will she have time to raise children?
Oh, don't look at me. I can't stand children. I shall never have any.
Don't worry, Mom. Bipsy wants a dozen. Don't you, my little bunny?
Don't you want a family of your own?
Oh, of course. I would love to have a husband, Mrs. Gordon. Maybe not the kind you'd meet in a nightclub.
So where would you go to look for one? In the library?
I sat in the library for years, Mrs. Gordon, and nothing ever happened.
What's so funny?
Oh, nothing. Just that Bipsy thinks that Mary Elizabeth is still a virgin.
She is one to talk. Slept with every man who came within 100 feet. She wouldn't know how to spell the word virginity.
Another grossly overrated virtue. So did you give up? Did you give up on finding the right man?
Oh, not for a moment, Mrs. Gordon. Recently, I've started looking on the internet. I thought I had found just the right man. Oh, he was so wonderful. Of course, he had been divorced several times, but no children. Oh, we were getting along beautifully. We had even exchanged photographs. And then all of a sudden, something happened. He just stopped writing.
So you didn't mind that he was divorced?
Oh, no, not at all. I'm very open-minded, Mrs. Gordon. In my profession, one has to be open-minded. I mean, you'd never believe some of the things that people will say in the privacy of their analyst's office. Oh, and that reminds me, I really do have to get up early tomorrow morning. Mrs. Gordon, we are going to have to go. It's been such a pleasure meeting you.
Well, are you going to be all right? Are you okay to drive? My little Bipsy had a few glasses too many.
Oh, David, you never have to worry about us. Somehow, between the two of us, one of us always has her head on her shoulders. Come on, sis.
Remarkable women.
Mom, I can't believe my ears. You criticized every woman I ever introduced to you, but you seem to be comfortable with Bipsy.
I'm beginning to see some advantages to this situation other mother-in-laws might not have.
Advantages like what?
Well, if I get bored talking to Bipsy, I could always switch over and discuss things with Mary Elizabeth.
That's true, I hadn't thought of that.
I could spend all day in the kitchen cooking and inventing recipes with Bipsy, and then I could have a quiet evening in a fine restaurant with Mary Elizabeth.
I guess you could.
I might get on Bipsy's nerves, as most mother-in-laws do, but I could always remain friends with Mary Elizabeth, couldn't I?
I don't see why.
I could play with your children all day long, and then when I get tired of them, I leave them with Bipsy and go to the movies with Mary Elizabeth. No, that wouldn't work. Well, there are some limitations. I can see that. But there are always limitations. David, this could work out very well.
Mom, I don't believe it. I'm so happy. I never thought I could turn out this way.
Well, darling, it's not as if I have to go through this all alone.
No, you don't. No, you don't. I love you, Mom. Good night. There's no one like you.
I hope there is. Good night, David. Sleep well. Mabel, you don't have to worry about Stephen. I found just the right girl for him. Mabel, have I ever lied to you? Trust me, it will be the perfect match.